Now we're going to be doing a 1995 Ford Ranger XLT. Here's a shot of the shock system that we'll be taking out. You can see at the top of that shock spindle there's a flat piece where you can put a vice grip on. You'll have to put a vice grip on it to be able to get that bolt out. Without it, the shock will turn. So put that on there, use your wrench. As you can see, I'm going to try and attempt it. Holding the vice grip, I can turn it. And there's the tip of the spindle that you can put the vice grip on. There's the bolt that finally came out. And I'm going to try to take it out. Can't take it out by hand. The best way to do it is by getting something there behind the shock and then prying it out. And it came out pretty easy once I did that. Now, as you can see, I replaced it with Monroe shocks. The one on the left is the new one, the one on the right is the old one. And there's all the parts and pieces that came with it. This one I had to reuse. We bolted down the bottom of the shock. Let's go ahead and put this in. Now this is a shot from underneath. I want to let you know that you have to compress the shock to put it back in there. So I really had a hard time. I was grunting quite a bit trying to make this happen. And so I put the camera underneath, real hard time, but the front shocks, finally I was able to compress and squeeze into position. Lots of grunting here. As you can see here, this is what the shock looks like once it's in place. Bushings and all. Then I went ahead and put the bushings on, the washer, as well as the screw, the new screw that came with the new shock. And you can see there the flat piece tip that you are going to vice grip onto. Here's the new bolt. I'm going ahead and putting on the bottom screw bolt at the. Then I tightened it up with a power tool that I had, impact wrench. Now the top, you can see here, top of the back shock, bottom of the back shock, and it's real easy to take this one out. Impact wrench, air came right out, and also with the bottom bolt, I was able to take that out. You can see here, it came right out. Now after I took it out, real easy, you can see the new Monroe Sensa-Trac shock for light trucks, which is to help with the loads, the one I chose. $103 at O Reilly's for 2. So as you can see, I put it right back in the way it came out. Here's the problem. I could not compress it. I put the camera here below so I could show you how hard it was to compress. So what did I end up doing? I had to get my hydraulic jack and I positioned the shock or the strut on the hydraulic jack as I lifted it up into position. You can see here, without that hydraulic jack, I don't know how I would have been able to compress that shock. Now here's the driver's side. Pain in the neck tire is in the way. I didn't do any lift. I just crawled underneath the truck and I used my, thank goodness for, air wrench that I was able to reach in there and undo the bolt holding the shock in place. Once I removed the top one, I took off, watch out, and Now what I'm doing here is I'm showing you a little bit more detail on how I got the shock into position. Once the shock was close to the holes there, I stuck a screwdriver in one side and wiggled it so that way that the hole would line up and I could then put the screw through this hole. As you can see here, I am trying to show you how to get the screwdriver and move that back and forth so that way that the screw will go in. Once I was able to do that, I put the screw in, the original screw, and I had to get a hammer and bang it through to the other side, but once I did that, no problems. But this hydraulic jack really came in handy. You can see here, finally put together. I'm putting the screw back on, and I use my air wrench that I got at Harbor Freight for like 20 bucks. Great buy. You want to add questions of how I did this, just leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.